Before you even pressed play, you already wrote the ending where they abandon you. You'd rather be right about being alone than risk being wrong about being loved. 3 minutes of someone's voice, sitting there, and you'd sooner burn the whole thing down than find out it might have been kind. You know that feeling when your phone buzzes and your stomach drops before you've even read the name? Multiply that by a person you'd actually started to trust. It's 10:17 p.m. on a Sunday. His bedroom, door shut. Back flat against the headboard, phone propped on a bent knee. The charging cable stretched so taut, the whole thing sits at the exact limit of its reach. One wrong move and it unplugs. There's a plate outside the door. His mom left it hours ago, untouched. The hallway light bleeds under the gap in a thin, gold line. And then the ping. That tiny, harmless little sound. A voice message. From her. The waveform stretches across the screen like an accusation. 3 whole minutes of it. Somewhere behind the wall, his parents' TV murmurs. A family already asleep to each other. This is the exact second the outside world walked into his quiet, and he decided to treat it like a hostage situation. Here's the thing about a 3-minute voice message. It is, objectively, nothing. It's audio. It's a person who thought about him long enough to talk into a phone for 3 minutes. He reads the sender's name twice. Not once, twice, like the letters might rearrange into a threat the second time. Then his thumb finds the status dot and switches it to invisible. Gone. Off the grid. As if going dark on a green circle actually hides him from anything except the one connection he swears he wants. He sets the phone screen down on the mattress and just looks at the ceiling. Have you ever spent more energy avoiding a 2-second task than the task could ever possibly cost you? Because that's the math he's running. Not what did she say, no. He's running the numbers on what 3 minutes of someone's voice probably means. And he says it to himself, word for word. I've got an 8 a.m. lecture. Nobody records 3 minutes to say something good. And I'm not walking into an ambush the night before class. Airtight, bulletproof. The kind of logic you can't argue with because it was built specifically so it can't be argued with. The lecture is the alibi, the respectable reason stapled onto the front of the real one. His fingernail taps the plastic phone case. Tap, tap. The plate goes cold in the hall. The HVAC clicks on and drones. And he lies there, fully awake, prosecuting a conversation that hasn't happened yet, building the whole trial, calling only witnesses for the abandonment before he's heard a single word she actually said. So, let's open him up. Let's look at what he's actually doing on that mattress, screen down, staring at a ceiling he's memorized. Layer 1, the surface story. He'll tell you he's being smart, responsible even. He's got an 8 a.m. lecture, he needs sleep, and only a fool walks into potential bad news the night before an early class. The message isn't a person anymore. It's a threat to be assessed, a package that might be ticking. Why open it now? Why not protect Monday morning him, the version who has to sit in a lecture hall and function? It sounds like caution. It almost sounds like maturity. And that's the trap. Because for about 4 seconds, you agree with him. You'd do the same. You'd call it self-care and go to sleep. Now layer 2. Watch the floor come out. Scripting the rejection in advance buys him the one thing he cannot live without: control over how the story ends. If he writes the ending himself, then nobody else's voice ever gets the final edit on his worth. Because here's the fear he's actually dodging, and it's not that the message is cruel, it's that the message might be kind. A cruel message he can survive. He's fluent in cruel. But a kind message? A kind message means he has something to lose. And having something to lose terrifies him more than being alone ever could. Alone is quiet. Alone is a room he decorated himself. And you already know which version of this you ran this week. The The cost was paid the instant he decided predicting pain was cheaper than risking joy. Layer 3, the part he'll never say out loud. Every time someone reaches for him, he reads it as an incoming loss. So he flinches. He goes invisible. He goes quiet. And he keeps doing it until the person on the other end finally gets tired and leaves. Exactly like he predicted. Then, and this is the sick part, he calls their leaving evidence. See? Told you. Everybody goes. He proved he was abandonable by abandoning first, and then he mourned the exact connection he refused to let land. The prophecy was never a forecast. It was a set of instructions, and he followed every line. That's the engine. He wins the argument that people are exhausting and connection isn't worth it. He wins it every single night. And the prize for winning is a cold plate in the hallway and a house full of people already asleep to each other. He's right. And being right is the loneliest thing he owns. What did years of this quietly steal? The friends who stopped texting first? The version of him that used to answer on the first ring? So here's where the algorithm forks. 3 paths, 3 ways to close the loop he opened the second that waveform landed. And he's gonna run the cost-benefit on all 3 without pressing a single button. Path 1. He opens the chat and types something breezy, something armored. No worries if it's bad news, I get it, we don't have to be a thing. And hits send before he can flinch. The immediate high is intoxicating. In the first 10 minutes, he feels untouchable, cool, ahead of the curve. The guy who saw it coming and defused the bomb himself. He rejected the relationship before it got the chance to reject him. Clean, efficient. But the delayed invoice is brutal because months from now, he'll replay that text and realize he detonated something that might have been entirely warm. That the 3 minutes might have been her saying she was scared too, and he answered a kind message with an eviction notice. He tells himself he was just being realistic, just giving her an easy out. That's the private lie. He wasn't offering an exit. He was forcing the abandonment onto his own schedule, so he didn't have to sit in the not knowing. And the one who pays is the person who was never, ever planning to leave, until he handed her the door and called it a favor. Or path 2, the indefinite hold. He doesn't reply. He doesn't play it. He just flags the whole thing in his head as to deal with after exams, files it in the same drawer where messages go to quietly rot. The relief is immediate and enormous. He dodges both the play button and the reply in one move, and he gets to keep telling himself he'll answer once he's in a better headspace, once life calms down, once he's the version of himself who can handle it. Except that version never boots up. The delayed cost compounds silently. She slowly learns that her voice disappears into a void with him, that reaching for him is like texting a number that's been disconnected without the courtesy of a beep. The lie he runs is that he's processing. He's not processing, he's avoiding, and dressing the avoidance in the language of self-preservation. And here the one who pays isn't her. It's the quiet, patient part of him that actually wanted this. The part that gets outvoted every single night by the part that's scared, until it stops raising its hand at all. Or there's the third path, and it's the only one with no armor on it at all. He presses play. That's it. No pre-written ending, no simulation running underneath, no jury already seated. Just her actual voice filling the room, whatever it turns out to be. And here's what nobody tells you about that move. It feels awful. There's no high. His chest goes tight, his thumb hovers, and for 3 whole minutes, he has to sit inside the one thing he spent his entire life engineering around. Not knowing, not controlling, just receiving. He switches his status back to online. He types back honestly, even as his hands do that stupid little shake, even though he has no script for what comes next. The payoff is almost nothing, only the nausea of hope with no guarantee stapled to it. But the invoice on this one never comes. There's no delayed cost, no 6-month regret compounding in the dark. The only thing he has to hand over is the belief that pain he saw coming is somehow softer than joy he didn't. And the only casualty is the version of him that needed to be right, the version that would have to lose the argument tonight in order to finally get answered. He knows this is the path. He can see it clearly from where he's sitting. That's the cruelest part. He can see it, and he still can't make his thumb move. So he does none of it. He doesn't press play, he doesn't send the breezy exit, he doesn't even flag it for after exams like he tells himself he will. Because deep down, he knows after exams is just a nicer word for never. He does the thing underneath all 3 doors, the option that isn't even on the menu. He reaches over and mutes the entire thread. Then he turns the phone screen side down against the sheets and lets the dark cast the vote he was too scared to cast himself. The plate's still cold in the hallway. The 8 a.m. class is still coming. And 3 minutes of somebody's voice sits there, unheard, sentenced in a court where only he ever testified. His status is still set to invisible. The equation is still running, quietly, all night, the way it's run for years, the way it'll run tomorrow. So he lies there in the almost quiet of a house asleep to itself. Right about everyone, reached by no one. And that leaves exactly one question hanging in the dark for you. Did you predict the loss, or did you cause it?